Well, we can see from the paper today that quite a number of activist groups are going to challenge the law, the new Arizona law, which includes rights groups called the ACLU and American Civil Liberties Union, Mexican American Legal Defense, and we have advancement of colored people are going to sue them. And we have one filed by the National Coalition of Latino Clergy and Christian Leaders. And we have a couple of police officers who are going to file suit. They are of Hispanic descent, one in Tucson and one, I think, around Phoenix.
What about Killer Joe?
And another group,
Is Killer Joe in that group?
a Latino group on the west side that I knew quite a bit about, La Casa, are going to, I think, sue them too. But, so I don't think we should get really attached to this new law to the point that we can't accept whatever happens to it. But what I do think is the big value of it, that it's got everybody talking about immigration finding. It's like up to now, it was like nobody could really focus on it, including me. I mean, illegal immigration, well, we knew it was there, we knew it was a big problem, but, focusing on it, that really, you just really have to have your attention called to it to get right down there and think about it. And I think everybody has their take on it from their own experience. My experience comes from living in a Mexican neighborhood for 20 years. I worked at Revlon for 4 years before I became too disabled to work. And then I lived in a HUD housing for 13 years, right in that Mexican district. And what I wanted to say today is that just as it is here, drugs and alcohol played a big part in causing huge problems in the community and in these HUD complexes. And most of the women were single, with little children. And it would be natural for an illegal man to attach himself to one of these women because the rent would be very low. And that complex was not well policed because it was too small, and so a lot of times there would be a long period of time when there wouldn't even be a manager, so boyfriends would all move in and wouldn't even make any bones about staying there because they knew they weren't going to be, the women knew they weren't going to be confronted about this.
They didn't have their names on the lease or anything?
No, they didn't have their names on the lease. Oh, time and again.
Oh my goodness.
And then all of the...
I've never heard of such a thing.
Well, in here, we have security, we have people going in and out, you got ID. And so the possibility of having people stay with you is much less. But there, when everybody had an open door out to the outside, it was very easy to wait until, night and slip into the apartment and just live there. But as, some one of these women, the big problem would start if there was substance abuse, and then the women might decide that, I'll tell you, I think they would, one of the main reasons why I could see that they would become dissatisfied is because these men were not like, their American counterpart. I mean, they weren't that sophisticated. They were more coming from another culture altogether. And so we're always getting women trying to break up with these guys because, they got tired of their controlling ways. They didn't like the old way they had of acting, come Mexican from down Mexico. And then you got the violence. You got violence. And I knew of 2 women who had been shot they didn't get killed, fortunately, but one of them had 7 children, and the shot went into a phone she had to her ear. So this guy, he was going to get her, and he almost did. I mean, it was a miracle that he missed that much.
Well, maybe he was
And the
just,
bullet
maybe
went
he was just
down into
trying
her
to kill
leg.
the telephone, you know.
Yeah, kill the
It's a lot
telephone.
easier with-
Right.
Yeah, just unplug it or stamp on it, you know, or throw it out the window.
Well, I think
He
that.
just wanted to shoot the telephone.
Yeah, right.
Come on, get serious.
Right. Well, I think the guy was trying to get 2 of their children to live with
just
him.
because she had the telephone
And one
in
of the
her
reasons
hand.
was that would be security, to have his American-born children living with him, so that if there's any problem with immigration, he had what they call anchor children, children that are born in the United States. Well, finally, after this shooting, his wife decided she had to let him take 2 of the children, even though she didn't think they'd be better off with him. Well, he did have his sisters to look after, and they were from Mexico, look after him. But you know, it was, you know, she thought it would be better than for her to get shot, since she had 7 children. Another woman right there in the complex, her illegal ex-boyfriend that she tried to break up with, gave her a choice: a shot in the heart or a shot in her thigh. Well,
Come on.
Yeah.
Now let's face it. Hey, seriously. At least he gave her a choice. You know, a lot of women.
Yeah, he
women don't
did give
get
her a
choices,
choice.
okay?
Well, she finally
See, I didn't-
said she finally realized he meant it. So of course she said thigh,
If somebody stuck
and
a
he
gun in your
just
face.
cold-bloodedly
you see
took
this gun?
his gun and shot her right in the thigh and threw her and pushed her out of the car in a dark street. And then he took off to either Mexico or California. But she was so infuriated to think, she had 3 children, and he knew this, to think that he would try, you know, cripple her like this. Unfortunately, he didn't hit a bone, so she did recover pretty well. But his friends, she helped find this guy after he got back from wherever he went, and told the police about him. They picked him up, and she was going to testify. And his friends called up and told her she was dead if she could testify. And just to underline that, they burnt her car. Well, I think she wasn't going to be intimidated. She did testify, and he went to prison. I thought, now there was a heroine. She did not let this guy get away with shooting her. But I'm speaking from my experience, what I saw, and how much gunfire, how much violence there was around there all the time. You don't forget that. You don't forget the most violent place that you ever lived or ever hoped to live, which was constant gunfire on the weekends. Sometimes it was just terrible. I remember one night there was a group over here in this
Okay, you
complex
gotta make
next
this
to
quick.
us,
You got 30 seconds.
and one over here, and they shot at each other
Shoot
all
fast,
night
okay?
long.
Shoot fast.
So everybody, we need all our opinions on this law. So everybody get in the act. So maybe the president will
Just
fix
kidding.
immigration.